asking where the system a do fishing. No, big up the girl, them we fight it alone and a race 2, 3, picnic on them own.
Shalom,
The man them
shalom,
man no them
shalom.
home.
Most High
Babylon
in
have them in
Christ
a
blessing,
jail.
family.
Big up the juvenile, them in
Welcome
the
back
street where you
to
say them have to
another
make it and not touch the
episode.
chrome. Them no one with the claim our own, but Africa now found no fool.
Yeah, so tonight we're gonna get on with some things taking place around so it appears we're suffering some network issues as always. Trust you me, Canada is not the place for technical, internet, and digital platforms. Believe you me, I tell you so. I've been suffering through it, but all praises to the Most High. You know, we'll make do, and all things works out for good to them that love the Most High God. All praises. Yeah, as I said tonight, we're gonna get into a little of this and a little of that. So let's get to it. So let me start off with a video. I'll start with a video. And I know most of us would have seen this by now and have had our own idea and thoughts. But for me, I applaud the sister for the part that she played and the stance that she took. And she created this piece. And I find it to be quite awe-inspiring because it speaks truth to what's happening, not just in America, but around the world for the underprivileged, more so the Hebrew Israelite, more so the people of color, the so-called black people. So, without further ado, let's get into it. And for those who are not sure or who don't know, this sister is Jill Scott, and she adapted the American national anthem to portray or emphasize what's going on in America with our people. So let's watch the video and tell me what you think.
Can you see by the blood in the streets that this place doesn't smile on you, colored child, whose blood built this land with sweat and bare hands. But you'll die in this place, and your memory erased. Oh, say, does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slave.
Yeah, there you have it. So true, so right. That sister did not lie. Every word is true. And again, as I say, I applaud her for her efforts and her adaptation to that so-called lie of a national anthem that that country declares to be the land of the free and of the brave. Because our brothers and sisters are suffering and dying, not just there, but throughout the whole entire earth. But more so because of that country which dictates and sets agendas around the world, forcing our people to be enslaved, to be downtrodden, to be killed, to be murdered, to be incarcerated. You know, it's like the Bible says, we become a byword. You know, nobody cares about us. We hardly care about ourselves. And that's why you see they came out with that slogan, Black Lives Matter. But it matters to who? Just to you and I. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care. You know, the upper echelon, the elite, they only see us as fodder. You know, they use us for their uh, labor. They use us for their wars. They use us for our knowledge. And that's as far as it goes. They have no other use for us. They don't care about us. So again, I personally say kudos to that sister for standing up because we know, you know, she's a well acclaimed artist, not just a musician. She's an actress, a poet, and a director. And she took that time to take a stance to show how she feels about the situation that she is living in that so called land of the free, not just for herself, but for her brothers and sisters, for all of our brothers and sisters, her family members. So I give her thumbs up. And I hope that all of you out there who are watching and who heard that sister take that stand would encourage each and every one of our friends, our brothers, our sisters, and our loved ones, you know, to take that stance also. Because there's going to come a time when sides will have to be drawn, when we all must realize that the American dream is built off the backs of the so called blacks. But the dream is not for us, it is built on us, but not for us. All praises. So, yeah, man, we need to wake up to that fact. All of you out there who love that country and who don't see what it's doing to us as a people. But moving on, let's get to something that took place recently in the news. And we talk about this Russia Ukraine situation. And so we know that this so called invasion that they say Russia would have implemented is a farce and is being pushed and controlled and manipulated by the foreign devil, you know, that the world calls the foreign devil, and that's the United States of America, because it's playing around with the idea that Russia does not want Ukraine to become a member of the what's the name of that bloody thing? You know what I'm talking about. I'll get back to it in a minute. But when we see here this contribution by CP24, it says the divisions over the Ukraine war caused a rift at EU Liam summit that was supposed to be in love. All right. So this is telling you that the EU, which is the makeup of all those countries that surrounds Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, and all those other nations, they were once a unified, harmonious group because now this war has come into effect. It is bringing this harmony. And it's like we told you before, this is what is going to spark the tension to cause the rise and the buildup that is going to lead to the war of worlds and to the eventual downfall of that dragon, that whore, that Babylon the Great. They're going to unify with one another and they're going to destroy that country and those people that call themselves the United States of America. Okay? So it tells you that's why you see there's a division in this EU summit because you have some countries that are still aligned with the US and their agenda. And then you have the majority of the countries in the EU who want to do away with them, their propaganda, their false doctrine, and their influence in trying to dictate the way that the world should run according to their standard. Okay? And so that's why there's disharmony, and that's why there's going to be an uprise in dissension and lead to a war of worlds. So let's keep an eye on it as we have prophesied because of the book, which tells us when you discern the prophecies that the war is at hand. And as I said, just keep an open eye and an ear, and you will see as it escalates. Don't sleep on it, brothers and sisters. Do not sleep on it. It's about to come loose. You know, all the fastenings that were holding these things together, all the glue that had these people stuck as one, is fast becoming loose. And so you're going to see where allies start ratifying around Russia and nemesis begin to take sides against Russia. And then the sleeping giant, the beast, will awaken and it will start to thwart a lot of the little countries around it. And then the war machine will steady trample on to the whore, to the great Babylon, and destroy her and her people. All praises. Yeah, so that's what we predict through prophecy, and we stand by that. And as we say, you will all see. Okay? So let's get to another video. What video do we have that we want to bring up? Let's see. This video that we have here is a video of a brother. I don't know, many of you may also have seen this, but it's a startling and alarming thing that's going on throughout the world, but more so in the United States of America again. Isn't it amazing the fact that everything that pertains to wickedness, to devilry, to Satanism, it's all rooted and centered in the United States of America. That's why it says she is the mother of all whores. Okay? She's the center of wickedness. And they lay claim to be a righteous nation, a people of God, a Christian nation. But yet they harbor all manner of wickedness. But let's get to this video and we'll further expand from there.
A lot of y'all like to be on the road, and a lot of y'all get hotels and Airbnbs. But what I need y'all to know is this is a list of hotels. You got the Hilton, the Wyndham, the Days Inn, the Super 8, Best Western, Red Lion, Marriott, Choice Hotels, Extended Stay America, and Motel 6. What do all these hotels have in common? They're all being sued right now for human trafficking. They have been participants in human trafficking. But wait, that's not all. In some of these hotels, they have found tunnels in the closets that go underground that led to missing children. Hey, do your own research. As you can see right here, the lawsuit has been filed against major hotel companies, including these, for allowing trafficking to occur on their property and profiting from human trafficking. Also, these hidden cameras have been found in a lot of these hotels as well. The traffickers use these cameras to spy on you and to see who they can kidnap. This is a coat hanger. This is a camera that looks like a plain screw. You would never know. People, you have to check your rooms for cameras. Also be aware of hotels that offer free shampoo and some conditioners, because a lot of these containers will have shampoo in them, but the base of the container is a whole camera system. So be careful at Airbnbs and at hotels everywhere. You can actually buy a device that will scan the room and let you know if there are cameras in the room. And it will show you where the cameras are. And for reference, this is a hotel in Florida that had a hole in the closet that they went through and they found children way down that tunnel where they would kidnap people that checked into these hotels.
So there, you see, this brother has brought the fact out to you. And most of us, especially from the Caribbean and other nearby countries, we love to fly to the United States of America, whether on vacation, for school, for reunions, whatever manner of travel we go there for, we do. And we stay in most of those places that this brother just shared with us. Okay? So it may not be an extensive, ongoing thing, but undoubtedly something is taking place. Because as he said, if these places are being sued for what's the word? Abductions and missing persons, and are being connected with the criminal activity of abductions and persons going missing, it speaks a lot on the behalf of who owns these places. And you know it's not people of our race, people of our color. Mind you, you may have one or two who may be blessed to have owned one or two of these places, but in hindsight, the majority of owners, we know they are the wicked ones, those Edomites. All right? Even still, if not even the Edomites, to have the other heathens, the enemies of the Most High, who play a part in doing this foolishness. And more times often than not, it's not just going to be any little child or any woman or any person that goes missing. Majority of the times it's going to be us because they desire us, our vitality, our strength, our stamina, our health, because we are blessed by the Most High. And their science can never figure us out. That's why you see they're always testing us, always trying to figure out what it is that makes us so resilient, that makes us strong, that gives us our melanin, that we can stay in the sun and work so long and so hard when they can't even stay in the sun for half a minute. Not a minute, half a minute before they start to break out in blotches or their entire skin turns red. It's a curse they have on them. Okay? It is a curse. And so that's why you see they kidnap us and they love to use the youth of our people. The younger they are, the more stronger and healthier they feel the genes to be, that they can get the full impact of what it is our genetics offer to strengthen and empower them. So be careful with your children, brothers and sisters. Be very careful. As the brother said, when you go to these motels and inns, it's not a joke. A lot of you may look at it and laugh and think that brother is talking garbage. But these things are happening. So be vigilant, be careful. Watch these places you go because times have changed. You know, you can just disappear like that. Your child can disappear like that. And who cares? They don't. They will tell you, oh, we're putting out a missing person case. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to blame you. The mother and the father killed the child and dumped the body. Or the mother killed the child and got rid of the body. Or the father kidnapped the child. They're always going to make up a story. This is how it's been going on for time and time and time again from it's been happening. You know, so again, I admonish you, brothers and sisters, be vigilant, be careful of your surroundings, especially when you go to these motels and inns. They have found ways, like this brother said, of kidnapping your children, even you at times. If the need necessitates that they have to get someone, it could be you. But moving on, let's get to another topic that's trending in the news around us, and it's something to do with our so called Israelite nation. And if anyone follows the news, we'd see that Speaker of the House, that devil McCarthy, he is an advocate for Israel. No matter what people say, no matter how the situation is presented, he always stands by them and defends them. And the latest uproar regarding him and his plight with Israel is where he condemned the Senate for what he terms as making anti Semitic remarks against Israel. Because if we realize they say that, or they said, or they hold fast to the fact that Israel is a racist, and sorry, let's be specific. More so, the Democrats of the Senate have this view that they brought up and stood against Israel being a racist nation. And it is true. We know this. It's not that we don't know. It's not that what we have to prove. It is what we can see and it is what we know. Because Israel now is populated by the Edomites. We all know this. Okay? It is funded and primarily upheld by the United States of America through donations, through um, what's that word they call it? Well, anyhow, America gives them X amounts of billions of dollars a year to sustain them in armaments, in government, in infrastructure, and to pay off their scientists and their scholars for their knowledge to build their nation, not to build Israel, to build their nation. When I say their nation, I'm speaking of the Edomite nation, because far be it for them to tell you who the Jews are. That's why you see majority of the Jews in the United States of America stay in the United States of America because they know what's going on in Israel is not of a Jewish people. It is of an Edomite dissension. They place Edomites in that country from earlier back in this century. And they have had a foothold and a stronghold of that country ever since. Because they know, the Edomites know, they are the enemy of God. And they know the prophecy that Israel is the land of the Most High God, where He said His name, and the people who inhabit it, or so they think, are the chosen people of the Most High, but not in this time. That's why when we look in Revelations, it says that He will reclaim that land for His people. So they are confused and lost. They think because they are there that they are the chosen people of the Most High. But no, it says He will reclaim that and give us a new land. He's going to wipe them out of there and put His people in there, just how He did back when we took Canaan, when our ancestors took Canaan. That's what He's going to do again. Eradicate. What did He call them? What did He call them? You know, yeah, that's what it is. That's who they are. I don't want to be too explicit, but yeah, those so-called Israelis are not the people of God and they don't belong there. But anyhow, let's read what this demon McCarthy was all about. So we see here it says House Speaker Kevin McCarthy slammed Democrats for their anti-Semitic remarks. And again, as I said, they are of the fact and the belief that Israel is a racist country, on which it is. They segregate people whether you're black or whether you're a Jew. If you're not a natural Jew as far as they're concerned, don't care how you adapt to their so-called religion, you're not a natural Jew. So you're going to be segregated. If you're black, definitely you're going to be segregated. If you're a foreigner that came to live in the so-called Holy Land, you're going to be segregated. So what does that make them? They say or defend the fact that they are protecting their homeland because they feel they're the people of the Most High. But in actuality, the United States government, sorry, the Democratic Senate feels that they are being racist. And so, in no unspoken terms, that's what it sounds like. Because if the United States dictates who are racist, people who segregate, hate, or act in aggression against another race or people, they are racist. So, how can the Speaker of the House defend them for the actions that they take in that country? I don't know. But he always does. He's sympathetic to them, he's empathetic to them, and he stands by whatever they say and whatever they do. Okay? So we see here Toronto Star says House passes a resolution to show support for the Israel after Democrats' comments about racist state. So yeah, you see what they did? They banded together. They banded together because, as I said, it's their people. So they're not gonna let you try to break them up or show them out to the world or call them racist, in which they are. But all praises, they're gonna be dealt with. They are going to be dealt with. Time is at hand, brothers and sisters. The time is at hand. And very soon, the dominoes are going to fall. Okay? So let them enjoy whatever they feel they are getting right now. Because that land belongs to the people, to the real people of the Most High God. All praises. The real people of the Most High God. So let's get into another video and see what's going on here. I don't want that video. Let me take another video. Start one. Only gonna irritate me when I think of that demon Donald Trump. So this video here I came across, it shows to us the air of supremacy that the Edomites hold in their mind because they feel they are kings of the earth. Wherever they go, they feel they are superior and should be held in the highest of esteem and given all rights and authority to whatever they want. Okay? And so in this video, we see where the great uh, giant, what's his name, Goliath, is taking on a whole nest of ants. And he's not afraid because he feels he's entitled to the respect that he is due as an Edomite, as a so called white man, and more so as an American. And so this took place in the Bahamas. Boop, boop, Bahamas, my country. And it is said to be involving, as I said, this Edomite. And it's on one of our islands where it is a tourist destination. And, you know, this incident took place where this Edomite would have been trying to traffic through or commute from one place to another, and there was some roadblock. And the people that I said to, these Levites, the so-called Haitians, are the primary persons who convey people to and fro on the island. And for some reason, they must have had some issue why there was no movement. And this Edomite would have came out of his cart and demanded to pass. Whereas I guess everybody else was waiting accordingly, but he demanded that he should have access, I guess, because of, like I said, he is an American and a white man, so nothing applies to him outside of the norm that he is entitled. So let's see what they did with him and how they resolved that issue. So there, as we saw, and as I said, it's just something I came across, it's a snippet of what actually happened, but for all intents and purposes, it speaks to what I said. This giant of an Edomite, an American, whomever he is, whichever state of the union that he came from, felt his power and authority to make these little minions bow and bend to his will. And so we see what they did. They banded together and they unleashed the demon out of him. They kicked his ass, but that didn't stop him. Just how the great giant fell back when Rome was toppled and they got back up and became, England, and then they became America. Just this brother, sorry, not this brother, this Edomite rose back up and fought his way back. He wasn't intimidated, he wasn't scared because he has that air of superiority. That's what their nation does to them. Makes them feel invulnerable, superior, more dominant, more powerful. He wasn't afraid. He's surrounded by a nation of so-called black people. And he wants to fight and demand, as I said, his way to take place. But they dealt with him. And as I said, it's just a snippet of what happened. It could have been where it escalated more. We could have seen what prompted them to attack or him to attack. But for what I got, he was the cause of the whole incident because he wanted everybody to get the hell out of his way. I don't know who gave him the authority, but he wanted to take charge of the whole scene and part the way like Moses did in the wilderness, But again, as I said, he got a taste of what it means to get an ass whooping. All praises, all praises. All right, so let's take another look at something that's taking place in the news around us. Yeah, let's look at this. South Africa. South Africa, as we know, has always been friendly to China, and subsequent, it's been friendly to Russia because Russia and China are very close allies. If in fact you didn't know, lots of us feel that China is a nation that does not have allies or friends anywhere in the world, but no, you'd be surprised. China, it partners with the US because of trade and industry, but on other shores and on other things, it works and relies on other nations, for other things, as I said. And back to what I was saying, it is expected that President Putin is supposed to visit South Africa. And because of this so called invasion that the United States has pushed and made the rest of the world to believe that they invaded Ukraine, they have used their influence to manipulate the ICC, International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court. Did you hear? The International Criminal Court, to proclaim President Putin of Russia as an international criminal, and they set out an arrest warrant for him to be arrested in any country that is a part of the ICC whenever he lands there, leaving the borders of Russia. Because Russia, if we would have realized, has left and not become a part of the ICC anymore. Okay? Russia is not a part of it anymore. Okay? Because in fact, you have to look and see why. The United States of America, the kings of the world, have set themselves even above the ICC. Okay? Let me get it for you. I don't want to misquote and I don't want to say the wrong thing. But let's look at that. It says, United States participation in the ICC treaty regime would also be unconstitutional because it would allow the trial of U.S. citizens for crimes committed on U.S. soil, which are otherwise entirely within the judicial power of the United States. The Supreme Court has long held that only the courts of the United States, as established under the Constitution, can try such offenses. So there, you understand what that says. It says that the United States is a superior authority above the ICC, meaning that any U.S. citizen that commits a crime, whether they lived in Russia, they lived in Europe, Asia, they live in the Middle East. If they come to the United States and they become a U.S. citizen, nobody can touch them. Or if a U.S. citizen that lives in America sends a bomb to China and it blows up 1 million people who are killed, nobody can touch them. Because as far as their law dictates, their court is a higher authority than the ICC, who can try their citizens. Nobody else can. But yet, they want to mandate and dictate that other countries, persons, and citizens should be held accountable by the ICC. No other country is deemable to try or judge their citizens like the way that the United States can do their own citizens. Is that not crazy? Does that not tell you they believe they are gods among men? Boy, I tell you. But It is what it is. Let's look at this. So let's see this. And so it says South African leader says that arresting Putin if he comes to Johannesburg next month would be war. That's world news from Continent Net. Okay? So this president is no idiot. He's no fool. He knows that these people who are sitting on their throne who are being manipulated by the whore, Babylon the Great, is only trying to use other countries to make more conflict, to make more dissension, to make more adversaries and problems for Russia. How can you say you're going to arrest the president of Russia, a country like South Africa, barely surviving on their own, just evolving, trying to get their own country in order, and you want them to take on the act of bringing doom and damnation on themselves from Russia for saying they arrest the president of that country. You've got to be crazy. Why doesn't the United States enact a military move where they go and pick up Putin like they do in other countries? Why they don't do that? Well, we know why. We know why. Yeah. But anyhow, BBC says arresting Vladimir Putin in South Africa would be, was it? Oh, declaration of war, says Ramaphosa, and that would be the president of South Africa. All right. Al Jazeera English News says South Africa says arresting Putin would be declaration of war. So they all understand the intention of what this and the ramification of what this would lead to. Okay? And South Africa is not in a position to go to war with Russia. Again, as I said, it's an ally of China, and China is a strong backing ally of Russia. So it puts them in a very sticky position to be eradicated because they're barely hanging on right now. So, my brother, don't be a fool. Don't let them use you as they have always been, because they are looking for some idiot to actually take that jump and that chance to foster and incite a world war. Because nobody would care if South Africa was to take that chance and they're not acting on the behest of America. No, the world wouldn't see that way. They'll be acting on the behest of the I still can't remember the name of that body, but it will come to me. It will come to me. So moving on, let's get to another video that we have in our arsenal. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it all stems back to the American country and the people and their agenda. So yeah, this video that I have here is a video of a brother that I hold in high esteem because he speaks a lot of truth, but he is more on the advocation of Africanism more so than righteousness and the Israelite nation. He knows these truths and hold them in high regard, but he more so, as I said, advocates for Africanism, when in fact, Africanism is not Hebrew Israelitism. But again, as I say, this brother is well endowed in the truth. You know, he has knowledge of the Israelite, and he speaks out for the plight of our so-called black brothers and sisters, not just in the United States of America, but around the world. Because as I said, he advocates the Africanism in the black race throughout the world. Okay, so in this particular video, he's speaking about the situation taking place in, I think it's Trinidad, where they're trying to make children accountable for their sex. All right, for their sex identity. So let's listen in to what he has to say.
Go through in the streets of New York and Philadelphia and Atlanta and Tennessee. If your child tells you that they want to be a girl when they're biologically a boy, if your child tells you they want to be a boy but they are biologically a girl, you are not allowed to disagree with your child. If you disagree with your child and your child goes to school and the child tells the teacher or the counselor or the nurse or the social worker that I want to be a girl, they can remove your child from your home. It's called gender-based discrimination and gender-based child abuse. So I'm seeing, when I look at Barbados, and I'm looking at the Inter-American Development Bank, and I'm looking at the Barbados Family Planning Association, and I'm looking at this new child protective law that.
So yeah, as you heard, sorry about that. It's Barbados, and he's speaking to the fact that, you know, as he said, gender identification, where the International Bank, Monetary Bank, you know, the bank that gives loans to countries, governments of countries, are trying to dictate to Barbados to allow these new agendas and procedures and laws to be passed for their government to get monies from that bank. So let's listen in further.
They're trying to introduce it to Barbados, and I can see the writing on the wall. You will be the next casualty. You will be the next casualty in the global transgenderization war against African children. It is population control. It is nothing else. And the other thing you better understand, not only is this a war for population control, this is a war for the legalization of pedophilia. I need you to understand this. This is a war for the legalization of pedophilia. And I want you to understand, the two movements are related. They work together in the dark. And I want you to understand the logic and rationale. It goes like this. If the Barbadian people allow the Barbadian government to say it is legal for a child under the age of 18 to decide they want to transform themselves into the opposite gender, the pedophile movement is looking at that, and the pedophile movement is saying, if a 12-year-old Barbadian girl can decide to reassign her gender to that of a boy at 12, doesn't that also mean She's old enough to decide to have sex at 12. If a 9-year-old Barbadian boy is allowed to undergo sexual surgery to become a girl at 9, doesn't that also mean that at 9 years old, he's old enough to decide if you want to have sex with a 25-year-old, or old enough to decide he want to have sex with a 45-year-old, or old enough to decide he want to have sex with a 65-year-old? I'm telling you right now, and you will live to see the proof of my words. After they push transgenderism on your children, they are then going to push sexual emancipation on your children. You don't believe me? I want to read you something really quick. First of all, is this information any good to you, brothers and sisters? Are you learning about what they're doing to our children? This is an assault on African life around the world, brothers and sisters. Why do you think Kamala Harris, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris, just came back from Africa, threatened East African presidents with the elimination and termination of American aid if you don't make your country safe for gay marriage and transgender identity?
Yeah, so you heard that? It's just as we said. They have a foothold and a hand in every country where the so-called black man is, and they want to eradicate us by any means necessary. Anything that they can do to push to destroy us, to break us down, to destabilize us, they're gonna do that. And just as he said, you see what they're using? A sister. And long before her, they used a lot of our people to destroy us. President Obama, Jesse Jackson, Reggie Jackson, you know, a lot of our brothers, Al Sharpton, they lose all of our people against us. And this is what takes place. So this brother's not lying. It's true.
Why does a government care? Why does a government care how another culture decides to define what a family is? Why do you care about how another culture decides to define marriage? You know why they care? I have to introduce transgenderism into every Caribbean island. I have to introduce transgenderism into every African country. I have to introduce transgenderism into every black community, because only if I can brainwash the children into becoming a transgender, I never have to worry about any more black babies being born.
Powerful truth. Powerful truth. And that's their whole agenda, to destroy us as a people. They couldn't get the older generation. They couldn't get the now generation. So they want to target our children, the future generation. Okay? From the inside out. That's how it rots. Anything that is organic rots from the inside out. So don't try, this is their plan. Don't try to get the older generation anymore. That's the outside. Don't try to get the now generation. That's the inner portion. Try to get the younger new generation. That's the seed. And when you spoil or rotten the seed, there can be no upgrowth. That's it. And so they want the children. That's where they've refocused their plan. They want the children. And it's all truth, like this brother says. All truth, brothers and sisters. Okay, so let's get to something a little closer to home. And this is a touchy situation because it stems from the fact of how the world views Canada as a place of lucrative gain and upliftment. That's how I can put it. For countries, sorry, not countries, for people who are leaving from a stable country, a stable life to seek a better life. Okay? That's the dream they sell you, like the American dream. Freedom of life, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of sexuality, more money, better jobs. Okay? This is the dream that we are sold that attracts us. And then on the other side of the coin, Canada is a refuge. And that is the greatest attraction to the other side of the world. Because as I said, we in the West, we are attracted to the money and to the freedoms it offers. But to those on the other side of the world, they're attracted to the refuge that it allows. Okay, the sanctity that it brings, the protection that it affords. Because in war ravaged nations, Canada's door is open, especially to the Edomite race. And that within itself is the cause of all this issue and problem that's taking place within the refugee system in Canada. Because you have persons that come here from war ravaged countries, as I said, people of color, people of impoverished state. Mind you, they're allowed to come in, right? But if they have no family, no relatives, they have no sponsorship, and if they have no means of financial support, what's going to happen? The government is only available in so much as they see or feel they should do for these people. But again, as I said, look at the situation. When it comes to Edomite countries and people, they get immediate sponsorship, immediate financial aid, immediate housing and protection. And the problem, as I said, is the so called blacks, people of color, and the impoverished. When they come here, they have nowhere to live. You take my word for it and you do a check. Go to every shelter in Canada and see who you find. If it's not Elamites, the so called Indians, then it's the so called blacks. You hardly ever see an Edomite, a so called white person, in a shelter as a refugee or living on the street as a refugee. And right now, there's a big problem going on in Canada with refugees that are coming to the country. A majority are Africans or blacks from the Caribbeans, and they're on the streets because they have nowhere to go, no shelters to enter, no relatives, no governmental support. Okay? I mean, they cannot refuse them entry because, it's a treaty that they have signed. But still, you must put things in place where these people can be accommodated. And as I said, the preferential treatment goes to the Edomites. When they come in, they are fostered off to housing developments, forced it off to people who sponsor them, forced it off to governmental aid programs. Look at it. Just this, the war in Ukraine just happened a day ago. And on the first instance, they got first privilege and priority of getting uh, status of residency in Canada. They made it top priority. All these countries that have been seeking refugee status and residency to come in Canada for years, these countries have been plummet with war. People have been killed, women have been raped, children have been sold into slavery and sexual immorality. And they've been pity partying these people, not giving them free access, like how they are doing with the Ukrainians, the Yugoslavians, the Russians, and all of the so-called white racists. They come to Canada and they are immediately sponsored, immediately given government fostering and aid. And it's a horrible thing. But let's look at this piece. And so it says from the CBC News, Toronto volunteers find shelter for asylum seekers forced to camp on sidewalks. You see? It's no lie. These people come to Canada as asylum seekers, as refugees. They are allowed to come in, but not given anywhere for safe sheltering, for uh, foods, meals, for showers, for maintenance of their hygiene, such as their clothes. And this is a horrible situation that they allow these people to get put into. Mind you, we don't want them to build no housing camps where you can say that, okay, the people have been arrested and put into camps, but obviously something must take place. And so Canada now realizes that they're being shown up. The world is actually seeing them for what is actually taking place. Because as I said, when you look in the news daily, it has been calling out the government for the plight of what it's suffering on to these refugees, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and impoverished. Where are the so-called whites? The Edomites, where do they put them? Why don't we see them out on the streets? Why are they not over shamrocking the shelter system? And it's as I said, they are the privileged. They get the choicest of places to stay. They get the sponsorship and they get the government aid. Okay? So let's see what CBC News says. Ottawa announces 2.12 million in funding for asylum seekers amid full shelters. Okay. So they've decided to bring out some money to help these people. All praises for that. So let's see how that works out. Okay, CP24 News says success for the entire community. Refugees stuck on city streets relocated to North York Church. Again, all praises. Finally, doors are being opened up to these people. Because how can you have these people leaving their country where they are dispersed, downtrodden, rejected? Some are even incarcerated, for whatever reason. But you invite them to come to your country and you have nowhere for these people to stay, no source of income, no way of not knowing if they're going to eat a meal today or tomorrow. And that's horrible, Canada, horrible. But all praises, as I said, they have levied some monies to try to aid in the upkeep of these people. And now the church has opened its door to help to shelter some of these persons. You see what it says. It's about time. Ottawa offers millions more in housing support to shelter refugees. And it looks bad on the Canadian government and system. Because as horrible as the US is, it doesn't have this problem. Because a lot of people say, well, oh, America isn't receptive to refugees. Not that they're not receptive. They saw the outcome of what this problem could be, just as Canada is seeing it now. You open up yourself to too many refugees coming in till you cannot sustain the people. Okay? So you need to revamp your system and try as best you can to vet these people, because not everybody is coming here is in urgent need of asylum. It's a fact. So a lot of them are coming and piggybacking off of the real people in need, because they're coming from other countries where they find it hard in life, and so they now assimilate themselves with other people and slither into Canada and become a nuisance and a scourge in the country. So America has really taken care of that problem and that issue. And so you need to take a page of their book in dealing with refugee influx. And you're not saying that you should not open the borders to allow the refugees to come in, to allow the asylum seekers to come in, to allow whomever needs your protection to come in, but you have to do it more so on a more, what's a good word? Secluded scale, whereas you allow only the real necessary persons who need to find shelter, security, and a more protected way of life to come in. But that's just my 5 cents on that. But that brings us to the end of our show, brothers and sisters. I hope it was enlightening. You got some information and you've become more aware of some of the things taking place in our community and indeed in the world where we live. And of all the things that was said and of anything that was heard and taken in, be mindful and remember the devil, the adversary, is not just spiritual. It is those demonic demons in that nation that is called the United States of America. They are hard at work trying to upend the Most High God and destabilize His laws and His people to further their agenda and try to conquer the world under their total subjection. So remember, stay awake, wake up our brothers and sisters into this truth, and let us all become more unified, because only in that reality, when the truth of the Most High is spread throughout the whole four corners of the earth, shall the prophecies begin to unfold more and more, heralding in the beginning of a new world system and the coming of the Christ. All praises. So with that, we say good night. Shalom. Most High in Christ bless. You be safe, family.